African nations have a growing problem. Countries across the continent are facing attacks by Islamist-inspired insurgencies. The so-called Islamic State may have lost influence in Syria and Iraq, but it's now claiming vast territory across Africa, expanding and strengthening its influence together with affiliated armed groups. I'll be talking to a security analyst in a moment, but first, here's a look at northern Nigeria, where two foes are battling for a common cause.
Violent rivals now joining forces. This footage purports to show Boko Haram fighters pledging allegiance to the Islamic State in West Africa province. If genuine, it would herald a disturbing development for Nigerian security forces.
We have now joined with our Ikhwan, but after some mistakes that has occurred in between us, and we are now together. So we are saying to our Ikhwan, we should not relent in our effort to fight the kuffar.
For years, the two militias have been fighting each other. That came to a head last month when notorious Boko Haram leader Abubakar Shekau, seen here in 2018, reportedly killed himself in a battle with IS fighters. It's fueled fears that the so-called Islamic State is consolidating control of the insurgency in northeastern Nigeria. That's at the heart of a string of conflicts involving various extremist groups from Mauritania to Chad. Now, there are warnings IS activity is growing in the Horn of Africa and northern Mozambique too. They came as the global coalition against IS met in Rome to discuss the resurfacing of the terror group, sometimes called Daesh.
Today we began, of course, with the meeting of the coalition to defeat ISIS and what we have to do to eradicate what's left of the terrorist group, and very critically, as Italy has been emphasizing, to prevent its emergence in places like Africa.
The Italian foreign minister wants to sharpen the focus on the continent. I proposed a working group dedicated to Africa, which could identify and stop Daesh-related terrorist threats on the continent. At the end of the first in-person meeting in 2 years, the global coalition added 3 new African countries to their ranks. And these propaganda images of former foes burying the hatchet in Nigeria only serve to underline the urgency of the situation.
Well, joining me to discuss this from London is Bulama Bukarti, Senior Africa Analyst at the Tony Blair Institute for Global Change. He's also a columnist for the Daily Trust, a Nigerian newspaper. Great to have you with us on DW News Africa, Bulama. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Rahila.
Now, our report touches on the growing presence of the so-called Islamic State in Africa, but I'd like to get your thoughts on how widespread their operations are. How are they growing geographically and able to conduct these attacks?
I mean, unfortunately, ISIS is so widespread today in Africa that you can say it is across the continent now. And you are not talking about countries, you are talking about groups of countries in each of the sub-regions. And when you start, for example, with the Lake Chad region, you have a border region bringing together Nigeria, Niger, Cameroon, and Chad, where the ISIS affiliate called Islamic State West Africa Province operates. In the Sahel, the Islamic State in Greater Sahara is active, and it operates in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, and is becoming a serious threat now to coastal West African countries like Togo, Ivory Coast, and Ghana. And then when you go to Southern Africa, it is mostly active in the northern part of Mozambique and now threatening Zambia and Tanzania, and also has another affiliate in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So it is pretty widespread. And unfortunately, the model is robust. It is not ISIS sending fighters from Iraq or Syria. It is ISIS recruiting groups that are locally entrenched, that have been fighting in that region for long and know the area very well.
Now, how effective will this international task force be to counter this threat? And what would this look like in practical terms?
It depends on how it is rolled out. If it is rolled out in the right way, which is, in my opinion, locally led, then it is likely to be effective. The first priority should be containing the violence. Containing the violence requires massive, locally led, sustained onslaught on the group that is led by local troops, but that is logistically and technically supported by Western countries. I think what Africa requires, especially in the Lake Chad region, is not massive Western troops presence. It is local troops, but supported by their Western counterparts in terms of logistic and technical support, but also in terms of capacity building.
Now, these insurgencies are driven by a number of grievances, from humanitarian crises and poverty, as well as the social and economic grievances as well. Could you just expand on that and explain how IS is exploiting these grievances?
Yeah, as I said, the security effort is necessary, but it can only contain the violence. It is insufficient. What you need to do is to tackle the root causes, and the root causes include poverty and unemployment, lack of education or very low education in many parts of Africa, but also this ability of ISIS or the affiliates on the ground to exploit religion and local grievances. And so you need massive investment in education, investment in the economy, in infrastructure, but also, effort by local religious and community leaders to counter the narrative and reduce the appeal of these groups. These are the vulnerabilities that ISIS exploits. Of course, there are other vulnerabilities like porous borders, like, vast ungoverned spaces in many parts of Africa. That's why ISIS got attracted to the area about 5-6 years ago, and the international community and local governments lagged behind. Unfortunately, West Africa has all the vulnerabilities that made Afghanistan a hotbed for terrorism.
Now, while we're addressing the African governments and why their armies have not been able to get this issue under control, what do they need to do to address better governance and tackle issues like poverty?
Local populations are dissatisfied with how governments are delivering. Democracy has not worked for populations in that part of the country, and it is high time that it has started delivering. And so governments must invest in education, in infrastructure, in the economy, and try to strengthen the relationship between the governed and the government so that extremist groups will not be able to exploit socio-economic grievances to recruit young people into violence.
All right, Bulama Bukarti, thank you very much for your time and analysis.
Thank you very much for having me.
In Nigeria, schools, churches and villages have long been targeted by the armed group Boko Haram. Now, one Catholic priest is trying to help a community by building a school, clinic and a mosque in a Muslim-majority area. DW's Fred Muvuni travelled to the village of Pagada outside the capital, Abuja.
Every Sunday, Christians gather to worship in this church. Then they pray for their nation, Nigeria. They ask God for peace and harmony. But this priest has been doing more than just praying. He's building a bridge between Muslims and Christians through his actions. He helped raise funds to build a mosque.
In our climate that is very divisive, a lot of hatred, religious intolerance, bigotry, we have shown through this singular act that we can work together, that we as Christians and as Muslims, we are all children of God.
Experts say religious intolerance is the main cause of tensions between Christians and Muslims. Thousands have been killed in interfaith violence in recent years. Father Karistus Issa says President Muhammadu Buhari's administration has failed Nigerians, and the religious conflicts have only been exacerbated by poverty or lack of resources. The support of the church towards this predominantly Muslim community is seen by many Nigerians as a unifying factor between Muslims and Christians. The mosque was completed in May this year, built by Muslims and paid for with money raised by Father Karistus. Local people from the Muslim community can worship here. For decades, the village of Pagada never had anything like this, so it means a great deal to them.
Yes, everybody will respect one another. And they will respect each other's faith. I will not tarnish the image of your religion, and nor will you tarnish mine.
Muslims and Christians have welcomed the support extended by the Catholic Church.
Glory be to God. Of course we are happy. We are happy indeed. If someone comes to build you a place of worship, you would be happy too. This shows love.
I didn't see anything wrong by Christian building a mosque or a school to Muslim, because we are all created by God.
For Father Karistus, the work to build a tolerant society is work in progress.
The essence is to show that we can live together, we can work together, we are all children of God, and religion is not for hatred, but to show love.
But that love must be nurtured, he says, and he hopes every single Nigerian can do their part, rebuilding a united nation free of conflict.